Hi, my name is Isis Espinosa. The case study that I chose to do for this assignment was over the bee population decline in Brazil. Um, Beekeepers in Brazil started noticing that bees were rapidly dying and falling to the ground, just falling straight dead to the ground. Over 50 million bees had died due to the overusing of pesticides. Um, the bees' decline was being blamed on colony collapse disorder, which is where the bees leave behind the queen with like ample amount of food and some like few nurse bees to take care of the queen bee. Um, but they were showing much different symptoms and they were dying straight on the spot. As rules and regulations allowed for more forestry, the rules on pesticide use were also lessening, and the bees started receiving lethal doses of pesticides. Almost 300 newer products have been used and applied into the market since the beginning of the year. And this increase in the pesticide market has gone up as more and more crop growers are becoming accustomed to killing off pests in order to produce larger crop shares. Bee pollinated crops account for almost a third of all food production consumed by humans. So, the main question is if the bees that are being tended by professional beekeepers are dying, what's happening to those out in the wild? Because of the democratic government in Brazil, there is a collective will that allows for the normalization of the use of pesticides. Just like the US, we are allowing for the shrinking of natural parks and have even lifted the ban on sulfoxaflor, which was a product that was banned in 2015 because of how toxic it was to bees. Humans are largely responsible for the decline of the bee population through habitat loss and pesticides. Those are just like two of the most um, common human caused responsibilities for the bee decline. Others are droughts, nutrition deficiency, air pollution, global warming. Here we can see the photo of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, just depicts a dead bee, and she was really the one that raised the question, like, we're so worried about birds dying, but what's going to happen with our bees, the insects that give our food, life and nutritional value. So how did all of this start? How did the use of pesticides start? At the beginning of pest control in 1889, Brazil has started what was called biological control, or BC models. Um, BC methods, I'm sorry. BC methods were, it was the use of insects to kill other insects. So basically, it was like keeping the natural rhythm of nature in balance and not purposely killing off more than what was needed. Um, but because it was not as effective enough as they wanted, like it wasn't as fast enough, and with a growing population, you want to keep up with the population, of course. They didn't see that biological control was useful enough, so they started the synthesis of DDT, um, which is a chemical compound that was originally created as a pesticide. And it's approximately been in use for 82 years. So since 1939, about 82 years, pesticides have been used to control, the amount of pests that you find on crops. We're going to talk about the importance of bees. Um, Bees make up around 80% of the pollination worldwide. So it's not just here in the United States, it's not just in Brazil, but worldwide they make up 80% of the pollination. One colony on its own can pollinate around 300 million flowers in a single day. In just one day, the one colony can pollinate. So they're like very necessary in pollinating. This is just talking about flowers. So imagine, pollination for our food. Um, They also enhance nutritional value and improve quality and can also cause longer shelf life on fruits and vegetables. They can cross pollinate, which is very important as they are able to adapt in different environments and can easily pollinate distinct and various plants and plant types. So, talking about food, 70 out of the 100 top foods eaten by humans are also pollinated by bees. Bees carry the biodiversity of an environment, and bumblebees are also very fast learners, and they can immediately find out how to extract pollen from different plants. And they can also adapt quickly to different climate conditions. So, whether it be rain, snow, low visibility due to fog or smog, um, bees are able to quickly adapt and overcome those climate factors, which not a lot of animals can do so. And bees are not the most diverse group of pollinators, but they are the most dominant. So out here, at least in the Arctic, I read that there is a more dominant group of flies, but out here where it's not the Arctic, they are the most dominant. So, what are the key roots to the bee decline? I chose the 4 key roots as evolutionary biology, business and economics, education, and environmental justice. And as you can see, I have these 3 arrows pointing to each of them. It's not necessarily going in an order from highest to lowest, but just to show that I think that these are all intertwined. They all go hand in hand. And, if you take one away, it probably will lessen the cause. I mean, it will lessen the bee decline. But then again, like, it really won't make a substantial difference because all in all, like, they have to go in hand. If not, there's not going to be any real change. I found out that there are at least 150 chemical residues in bee pollen, and it's been known as a deadly pesticide cocktail. Larger corporations, so talking about business and economics right now, larger corporations that manufacture pesticides such as Bayer, Syngenta, BASF, Dow, DuPont, and Monsanto just shrug their shoulders at the fact that they are killing off a large part of our ecosystem. It's easier for them to make money off of the farmers. And so, in turn, it turns into a vicious cycle. The manufacturers push out products, the farmers buy such products, they kill off bees unintentionally or even, knowingly. They're still conscious humans, so it's really up to their own subconscious if they want to use a product that is known to killing off bees. But from there, that cycle just keeps going, and until no real change happens, like, honestly, it's all going to stay the same, and bees will just keep dying. But yeah, the main reason that they use it is because of its effectiveness in killing off pests, which it probably is really effective, but in the long term, we're just going to lose the animals that keep our biodiversity going, that keep our food industry growing as well. Excuse me. That's why I said, like, at the beginning, all 4 root causes I chose go hand in hand. Evolutionary biology has shown humans that it is okay to use harmful pesticides as long as it's doing its job. It has become so normalized and ingrained into society that we just keep using it. So yeah, since the beginning, we talked about how in 1939 the use of DDT started, and since they saw its effectiveness from the get-go, they were like, what, this is great, this is amazing, we have to keep using it, if not, our crops can never succeed. So that's always a scary part, because once you start using something and everybody else around you starts using it, you're like, oh, since they use it, it must be okay. So they just keep using it, possibly not knowing the harmful side effects that comes with it. Attacking these bee colonies. Sometimes bees even become so impaired from the chemicals and pesticides that they don't know which way is home. So like after pollinating, they get lost, and it's just a really scary and devastating thing. Business and economics plays a great factor as well. Bigger companies will not say their product is harmful, even if they know, because they don't want to lose their revenue and customers. The pesticide industry is worth over $200 billion. Another key route to the bee decline is education. Education, or the lack thereof, makes people not understand what is happening. The farmers in Brazil continue using pesticides because they don't know better, and they may not understand how the ingredients in their pesticides are causing detrimental effects on the environment and bee population. So, education should be another important factor, as this can help teach people, between right and wrong. Like, what pesticide can I use? Because there should be some healthier pesticides out there that you can be able to use. There is also no environmental justice, because not only manufacturers, not only are they looking away from the mess, so are people with authority. So, like politicians, governors, authoritative figures. They're also not pushing policies that can help protect ecological necessities. So, if nobody in a higher position cares about it, if we don't vote somebody into office, that would truly care about the bee decline, there's still going to be that substantial effect on the bees' health. And my root cause solutions, I noted that it is very simple to say that policy should change, or implementing different products other than just pesticides is, very easy. But how can we change the evolutionary biology of people who are so used and dependent on pesticides? I believe that educating the younger generations is an easy way to start molding them with the ideology that using natural tactics to fight off insects is much better than trying to convince an older generation who is so normalized to using pesticides. Education on what is inside a pesticide and how it affects bee populations is important for people to understand. Then furthering that education into understanding why it is important for bee populations to thrive. The next thing would be banning the 7 most harmful pesticides is also very important, and recovering wild habitats for the bees to thrive is also a detrimental step for the bee population to thrive. Environmental justice and economics and business is a tougher construct to fight against, as most authoritative figures will pledge for harmful options as long as they make money off of it. But using your own voice to try and talk to government officials of such problems will be the best bet. And using your voice in democratic votings can also bring necessary change. So honestly, with no proper education on DDTs and its harmful effects, there really is no, elevation from there. It all boils down to receiving proper education on what you're using out in your farms, what you're using out in your crops, to, be able to understand why it is bad and why, it should be normalized or accepted. And bees are the main cause for biodiversity and our food consumption. We have to take care of all aspects of nature, no matter how small or unimportant we think they are. We take care of them, and in turn, they will take care of us. I want to thank you for watching this, sticking with me, and allowing me to teach you why it is important to keep the bee population alive.